Right, so I've been through and I've made the changes on my spreadsheet. As we can see here, I've highlighted them all in green now and I've updated the version numbers. We can now go back to our edit and see about updating it. So my edit, as we know, is a 000. We already saw version 1 and I showed it to you. So because I showed it to you, I'm gonna now update it by going duplicate to get myself a version 2. So we can go through now and we can make our changes. Now I've actually added a few new shots in here, as we know. So 5, 15, 25, there's a couple of others as well, 65. So we need to bring those in. So my first shot, this is going. So this version 1 here, this is going. I'm no longer doing this one. It's a different shot entirely. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And then we'll go to, so I think it's version 5 first. Sorry, shot 5, I should say. So shot 5. And shot 5 is this shot of his feet running along. Okay, and then I'm going to go to, I believe it's shot 10, which is shot 10. So shot 10 version 3, which should be pulling with him. So pulling means the camera's pulling back with him. So that's version 3 of this one. So let's see what we got here. So, okay, then he falls. Now we can see the problem that I've got is that we're at the end of the. This is ideally one long piece, but I'm already using it twice. But it's fine. I'll probably just I'll figure out how I want to shoot that. Maybe it's a blue screen. We'll see. We'll see. So he falls down. Okay, and then him falling down falls into low angle. That's now 20, I think. 20 version 2. Fall into low angle. 20 version 2. Let's see what we've got here. So that's that one. So we're going to come into it around here probably. See, falls down. Let's zoom in it. Zoom into this. It's detail work. Probably want to be out of it by now. And then on here, down he goes. I'm probably in on this a bit later. There we go. So actually feels a bit slow there. Never mind. It's fine. Maybe I can come out of this bit early even. Falls down. Cool. Right. Just knock a few more frames off that. Then after that one, so that's 20, falls into shot, and then new shot, reverse of Conrad turning around. 15, version 1. Down here. There we go. Nice. So 25, I think, is then the top shot of Conrad trying to untangle the barbed wire. So we go then 25, version 1. Let's compare. Push this into here like this. Okay, and we does this. Then back to 30, so the eye line change, 30, that's our old 30. So then 30, version 2. Okay, let's just see here. So he looks up, then we're going to get the POV. But I want to just pop into this and I want to just move his helmet back a little bit. Because I feel like it's hiding his eyes. No, I'm still not getting his eyes. Let's see if I can figure it with the light. So we just do that. So he looks up, and then I think we're getting the POV, which is this one. I think I did a new version. So we can right click and go to takes and go to take 2. And now technically if this is a POV, it wants to have his gas mask thing in it, which I didn't yet do. So for that, that's just a gas mask over the camera and a post-process volume. So I'm just going to copy those and I'll paste them into my shots that I'm working on. And then we get this. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. Oh, yeah, I'm digging that shit. I'm digging that shit. So that's 60. What are we on now? 675. Now I think there's this. What's this one? So that's him scrambling to get up. Now I've got a new version of that. So let's just drop a new version. 70 version 2. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, 70 version 2. Here it is. So that's this one. So we've gone from his eye line. We're going to be here, going to be there. So looking up, nice. He's going to look down, which guides our eye line down. So he gets out of the barbed wire. I'm going to split this shot when he turns around. So we go right click and edit split. I'm going to grab all these and just bring them back a bit because I'm going to create a bit of room, bit of space. So off he goes, move that. And I've got another shot here where he grabs the gun, which is an important plot point that he's got a gun. So where is it? So it's I think that's 65. 1. Okay, there it is. There it is. Yeah. So he turns around. Cut in here. Look. Turns around, grabs the gun. Off he goes. And then let's come into here where the gun's back on the screen. And off he goes. Okay. So what's next? Yeah, next we're here, right? So let's grab all these and put them back. Over here. Back. There we go. So off it runs, back over it. Okay, and I've got a new version of this. So it takes version 2 where he's going to bring up the gun. There he is. Just want to give him a little bit longer on the end there. Okay. We're back into his eye, looking around. And this one's the new version where he's already got the gun up. Take 2. Okay, there it is. Bang. This one takes take 2. There he is. That's fine. This one has a take 2 as well. Probably let that go a bit longer. Whoops. And then this one. Let's go there. Okay, and there we go. Right, so let's have a quick watch through. I think we'll agree that this one is much better. A little error there. Cool. Right, so there's 2 things I would do next. The first thing I would do is render the entire thing, and then I'm going to reconstitute it in something like Premiere. But then whenever I have a new shot, I would render it as a single shot and then sync it back up in my offline edit. So let's just do that. So the way to do this is to go to Cinematics and Movie Render Queue. I'm gonna add my 000 shot, which this one is A01000 PIV02. Okay. My config is one that I've set up before, so it's Movie Render Queue. I've discussed this in another video how to do this, but I've called this MP4 and HUD. So basically, it's set up so that it records a video. It includes the default burn-in, which is all it needs to do. It records it in project directory /saved/movie renders, and it calls it sequence name dot. It doesn't even need to be called dot frame number really, because it's not gonna have a frame number. But that's fine. So we can hit accept and then we can hit render on that. And when that's rendered, we'll put it in Premiere and start adding some sound effects. Okay, so that has rendered. I would tend to copy this out and put it somewhere else. I'm just going to put it in there. So copy and paste, and then that's the one that I'm going to bring into Premiere. And then I'm going to create a new sequence from clip. Now, obviously, you might not be using Premiere, you might be using something else, and that's all fine. And now, the first thing we can see is that we've got the burn-ins. Now, I talk about a burn-in on another video. Now, because this is the edit, we can see here that this is the file that we've rendered. So A0A1000 version 2, which is this. This here, down in the bottom right, that's the shot that we're talking about. And this is the time on and frame count inside that shot. This is our overall time code. So you'll see that time code just creeps up as we go, and we get to the end, and it's 1 minute and 6 seconds, which is what it is here. Look, it's like one frame off. But this is the local shot count for each of these shots. Now, the thing to remember that rendered video files are your currency, and when you're looking at them in Unreal, they're not necessarily how they're going to come out. And so that's why eventually we take the edit out of Unreal. We get it into something like Premiere, a traditional linear editor where we're dealing with video files. There are a few things that are going to happen that you're going to notice when you've rendered your edit out of Unreal. Some shots I always find will be out of focus, and that's purely because that a lot of the time that when we're talking about focus in Unreal Engine, it's actually related to the size of the viewport on screen. And so the smaller viewport, the less effect the depth of field has. So that when you render it in HD, actually, what looked like it might be in focus when you were on the viewport looks out of focus. So that's one issue, and we can see that on one of these shots. I think, yeah, this one. So for example, this one is out of focus, and it looked in focus when in Unreal. So that's one example. The other example is that these are coming through much these POV shots, which are much more out of focus and sort of warped in Unreal, are now coming out kind of a little bit clearer than I would like. So I want to try and disrupt those. And finally, the other big reason for rendering is effects, right? So for example, this wood effect here, we can see that it's already here. Now that's because the wood effect has been triggered there, and then it was still going when we cut to this shot. And now if we just rendered these as separate shots, then that won't happen. But that doesn't mean that we have to now just re-render everything. We don't. Okay, what we're going to do is assess where we've got problems, and we're going to re-render those shots because those are going to be the next versions. What we're not going to have is a version 3 of this edit in Unreal, because we've now moved it out of Unreal. What we're going to have is we're going to slowly, as we generate more versions of our shots, we're going to be chopping up here. Now, some of these shots might remain now from the version that we've rendered just now. They might remain till the very end and the very final version. But there's a good chance that as we go through, we will chop this and chop this and chop this until none of the original remains. We've just replaced it all with individually rendered shots. So let's go through and just analyze what that process is first of all. I'm just going to pick a couple of shots I'm going to re-render. So this is going to be one of them, right? So I'm just going to frame to the first frame of this shot, and I'm going to cut it there, and then I come to the end and to the first frame of the next shot in Premiere, that's how it works, and cut it there as well. Now you see, and now that I've got this and I can see that those are my cut points for that shot, I'm going to do a couple of others as well. So this is 25 version 1. So come into Unreal, go to 25, we're going to make a duplicate because we've already rendered version 1, so we don't want another one. So version 2, okay, so we can do this, and what we're going to do is come into here. So you see it looks in focus here, but it isn't. So I'll put our focus plane on. Right, we can see there what the problem is, and here we are. This is about where we want to be. So the next thing to do is go to our movie render queue, and we're going to start a new queue, and each time we make one of these changes we're going to save it and then add it to the queue. Okay, so go here, grab our shot, drop it on here. Okay, we can minimize that now. And what's our next one? So this one's out of focus as well, and that is 65. So we'll go to 65, duplicate, so 65, we can open that, do the same thing, look through the camera. Yep, it's not in focus. That's where the focus point should be. So you can see there, it looked like it was in focus here, and it actually wasn't. So that's fine. So same thing again, we're gonna just grab our movie render queue and then drop this one into it. And we're gonna do that for all the shots that we're gonna make changes to. So I'll go and make those changes. Right, so I've now made those changes and re-rendered those shots so we can see them here. And so what I'm going to do is come to Premiere, I'm going to create a shots folder, and I'm going to drop them into there. And then taking each one in turn, we'll do it this way. So I've got a new one of these, new shot 10, and the way to do this is we're going to come to the first frame, and we can see that it's actually, my first frame here is actually the first frame of the shot, so that one's nice and easy. So we just do this, and then what we should get is that we can see this is the new one on top, and that's the old one underneath. So we can see the change here. Now we can delete the old one if we want. Now we know that it's worked. Okay, and we'll come to this one, and so let's go to this is 25, and it starts at frame 1051. So there's a couple of ways to do this now. So I can come in here, and I can look for frame 1051, which we can see in the corner, and I could drag this over here, and then back over here, and then trim it down, and then we can just turn it on and off to see the difference. That's not quite right, is it? So it doesn't start at 103. It starts at 1036, not 1051. I'm being an idiot. So 1036 is here. So you grab the start frame, push it over, pull that down, and then we can turn off the top one. And we can see all we've done is it's just sharpened it, which is exactly the note that I want. So we can get rid of that. Okay. The next one is this one. And so another way to do this, so we get our first frame here, which is 1074, and it's shot 040 version 2. So this one will be version 3. So the other way we could do it is we could double click on it here. Then we could come and find our 1074 frame, which you can see here. It's that one. You can just about see that. See it there. And we can hit I. This is in Premiere, it'll be slightly different in the other pieces of software. And now if we drag this in, it actually drags it in with that as the first frame. And then we can drag these down. And then once again, if we want to see what's going on, that's what we had before, that's what we've got now. So this new version is much better. And we just drop that into place now. And I'll do the same thing with the rest of them. So that's how to edit a sequence in Unreal Engine, the first pass at least, and then get it out of Unreal into traditional editing software, and then start to iterate new versions out of Unreal into that software as well. And the next stage then is just, of course, some sound design, some music, and that's what I'm going to get on with now. So thanks for watching, and in the next part we're going to relocate some of these shots and see how we're going to make them work in the real world. See you then. Ooh.